A quiet mind is not a mind that is disciplined, controlled, shaped in a particular pattern. That is not a quiet mind. A mind that is tethered to a belief, to a dogma, to a particular concept, is not a quiet mind. That is a dead mind. A quiet mind is a mind that is extraordinarily active, alive. It is a mind that has no center and therefore no circumference. It is free. And it is only such a mind that can find out, or rather, that can receive, that which is true. But to have a quiet mind, you must see the totality of this whole process of thinking and conditioning, not only the conscious, but the unconscious. You have to be aware of all that. You see, we are so eager to achieve a result. We want to get somewhere. We want to achieve a quiet mind. So we follow a system, we practice, we control, we shape our thinking, and we think we have a quiet mind. But what we have is a stagnant mind, a mind that is enclosed within the walls of its own discipline, its own formulas. And such a mind is incapable of perception, of seeing something new. To see something new, the mind must be new. And the mind can be new only when it is free. And it is free only when it is really, completely quiet. Not through any form of compulsion, coercion, or discipline. This quietness comes when you understand the whole process of yourself, and that is meditation. The very demand to quiet your mind is the first movement of noise. It is the initial tremor of conflict from which all other inner turmoil is born. We approach our own consciousness as if it were an unruly beast to be tamed, a chaotic room to be ordered. The one who desires silence declares war on the one who is making noise. And this civil war within the skull is what we have come to call self-improvement, spirituality, the search for peace. But look closer. Who is this entity that demands quiet? It is a thought born of discomfort, of memory of a past moment of peace, of a future ideal of serenity. And what is it that it seeks to quiet? Other thoughts. It is one fragment of the mind attempting to dominate all other fragments. This is the anatomy of conflict, the very engine of noise. The effort to become silent is the perpetuation of sound. This fundamental misunderstanding is the trap in which consciousness has caught itself. We believe in the power of the will, the efficacy of control. We say, I will think this, I will not think that. I will be peaceful, I will cast out fear. But the I who says this is itself a product of thought, a creature of the past. It is the central repository of our conditioning, our fears, our desires, our accumulated knowledge. This I, this self, this observer, cannot bring about silence because its very nature is division. It stands apart and judges, analyzes, condemns, or justifies. It says, this thought is good, I will keep it. This feeling is bad, I will suppress it. In this act of choosing, of judging, the mind is splintered, and a mind that is broken into fragments cannot be whole, and therefore cannot be silent. Silence is the perfume of wholeness. This exploration, this journey, is Jiddu Krishnamurti's path to stillness. But it is a path without footsteps, a path that is discovered in the very seeing of the false paths laid before us by tradition, by authority, and by our own desperate desire for a result. The moment you seek a method to achieve a quiet mind, you have already strayed. A method implies a practitioner, a goal, and a distance to be covered over time. This is the field of the known. You will practice, you will discipline, you will control, and you may achieve a certain deadness, a numbness that you mistake for peace. You may build a very strong, very polished prison of belief and call it tranquility. But a mind in a cage is not a silent mind. It is a conquered mind, a broken mind. It has merely suppressed its own vitality, the stillness. Jiddu Krishnamurti pointed to is not the silence of a graveyard, but the silence of the immense living sky. It is a silence teeming with uncorrupted energy. So, the first act of true meditation is to see the futility of the actor. See the utter impossibility of the me bringing about silence. Watch your own mind. The desire arises. I must be quiet. Do not condemn it. Do not accept it. Simply observe it. What is this desire? From where does it come? It comes from the memory of agitation. It projects a future where the agitation is gone. It is a movement of thought, away from what is the present noise, towards what should be an imagined silence. This very movement is the noise. Can you see this? Not intellectually, not as a concept you have learned from these words, but can you see it in operation, as you see your own hand in front of your face? When you see that any movement of the will to create silence is itself noise, the will becomes quiet. Not because you have forced it to be quiet, but because it has seen its own futility. It falls silent out of its own intelligence. This is not a passive state. It is the highest form of action. To look at your own mind without the observer is the beginning of a profound revolution. We are so accustomed to the division. The I who is looking at anger. The I who is experiencing sorrow. The I who is trying to overcome fear. Is this true? When you are angry, in the very moment of its fire, are you separate from the anger? Or are you the anger? The separation is created a second later by thought, which comes in and says, I should not have been angry. This thought creates the observer, the sensor, the one who stands apart from the experience. But the reality is, in the moment of any experience, the experiencer is the experience. The thinker is the thought. To see this is to end the conflict. If you are the anger, you cannot fight it. You cannot suppress it or escape from it. You can only be with it completely. And what happens when you are with something completely, without judgment, without choice? What happens when you give your total, undivided attention to the fact of your own anger, your own fear, your own jealousy? That which is observed with this quality of attention undergoes a mutation. The energy that was fueling the conflict of the observer versus the observed is now wholly in the observation itself. And in this light of pure attention, the object of attention dissolves. The anger is no more, not because you have killed it, but because the division that sustained it has been seen as an illusion. This is the essence of what it means to quiet your mind. It is not a process of suppression, but of understanding. True quietness is not an achievement. It is a byproduct of seeing what is, and what is the constant chattering of a mind that believes itself to be a separate entity, a me living inside the body, looking out at the world. This me is a bundle of memories, experiences, and conclusions. It is the known, and because it is made of the known, it is always old. It can never meet the present moment, which is always new, so it reduces the living, breathing present to its own dead categories. It meets a sunrise and says, how beautiful, just like the one yesterday. It meets a person and immediately classifies them. It meets an insult and reacts from a history of hurts. It is never fresh, never innocent. The path to stillness that Krishnamurti illuminates is the path of ending this me, not by killing it, for that is more violence, more conflict, but by understanding its structure, by observing its movements choicelessly. You watch your thoughts as they arise, without identifying with them, without condemning them. You see them as a river flowing by. You are not the river. You are the vast, silent bank that allows the river to be. You watch your reactions, your prejudices, your fears. You don't say, I must get rid of this fear. You look at the fear. What is it? A response of memory? A projection into the future? A thought? You stay with the energy of it, without the label. And you find that when you look without the observer, the fear itself, the energy of it, has a different quality. It is no longer the monster you believed it to be. This requires a quality of attention that is foreign to most of us. We are trained to concentrate, which is a form of exclusion. You focus on one thing by building a wall against everything else. This creates strain, tension. Attention, as spoken of here, is the opposite. It is an awareness that has no borders. It is to be aware of the words on this screen, the feeling in your body, the sound in the room, the state of your own thoughts, all at once, without a central point of focus. It is an all-inclusive, relaxed awareness. In this state, there is no effort. There is just seeing. When you begin to live this way, not as a practice for 10 minutes in the morning, but in every moment of your life, while you are washing the dishes, talking to your friend, walking down the street, the mind begins to quiet down on its own accord. It becomes quiet because you are no longer feeding its conflicts. You are no longer providing the fuel of judgment, comparison, and condemnation. A mind that is not in conflict has no reason to be noisy. Its natural state is silence. We have so much noise because we are in a state of constant contradiction. We want peace, but our actions are violent. We want love, but our hearts are full of fear. We want freedom, but we cling to our beliefs. It is this contradiction that tears the psyche apart and produces the endless inner chatter. To end the chatter is to end the contradiction. And to end the contradiction, you must see it. You must see, in yourself, the reality of your own violence, your own fear, your own attachments. See it without flinching, without explaining it away. Just see it as it is. This seeing is the only action that is necessary. This clear, choiceless perception is the solvent of the self. Before continuing, I would like to ask you to subscribe and help our study group on non-duality. The goal of this channel is to spread philosophies about self-knowledge. Thank you to all who follow us. The investigation continues. We have seen that the controller is the controlled, that any effort to quiet your mind is a form of noise. We have touched upon the core insight that the observer is the observed. Let us go deeper into this, for it holds the master key. The entire structure of our psychological being is based on this duality. There is me, and there is the thought. There is me, and there is the feeling. There is me, and there is the world. This division is not a given. It is a construct, an illusion created by thought itself. Thought, in its necessity for communication and function, creates the word me. It becomes a center, a point of reference. I am hungry. I think. I want. This is practical. The problem begins when this practical center assumes a psychological reality. It becomes the ego, the self, the thinker who believes it exists independently of its thoughts. But does it? Can you find the thinker without a thought? Can you find the experiencer when there is no experience? You cannot. The moment you look for the thinker, all you find are more thoughts. The thinker is an illusion, a ghost created by the machine of thinking to give itself a sense of permanence and security. When this is seen, not as a theory, but as a direct, irrefutable fact in the laboratory of your own consciousness, the entire structure of psychological struggle collapses. Who is there to be afraid? Fear is a thought, a reaction. If there is no me, separate from the fear, to be frightened by it, fear has a completely different significance. It is merely a state of energy, a vibration that arises and passes away. Who is there to be lonely? Loneliness is a thought of isolation, of being separate. When the me who feels lonely is seen to be a fiction, the pain of loneliness cannot take root. The mind is then alone, but not lonely. There is a vast difference. This is Krishnamurti's path to stillness. It is a path of subtraction, not addition. You are not adding new beliefs, new techniques, new knowledge. You are stripping away, layer by layer, the false constructs you have taken to be yourself. And what remains when the false is discarded? You cannot know. To name it would be to bring it back into the field of the known. To imagine it would be to project another concept. The only requirement is the passion to find out, the intensity to look at what is false. Truth is found through the negation of the false. You cannot go towards truth, for it is not a destination. You can only remove the barriers that prevent its perception, and the primary barrier is the me, the observer. Think of it this way. A room filled with clutter cannot be called empty. You don't create emptiness. You simply remove the furniture, the boxes, the debris. The emptiness was always there, obscured by the clutter. In the same way, the silent mind is not a mind you create. You remove the clutter, the conflict, the fear, the striving, the division of the observer and the observed, and the silence that is the mind's natural state reveals itself. It was always there, underneath the noise. This demands a seriousness that is rare. We prefer to be entertained, to be given formulas, to be promised rewards. We want the easy path, but the path to truth is arduous in its simplicity. It requires your total attention, your total energy. You must become a scientist of your own inner world, observing everything, questioning everything, taking nothing for granted, especially not your own identity. You must question the very foundation of your being. Who am I? Not as a philosophical game, but with a burning need to know. When you ask this, don't look for an answer in words. Answers are always from the known. Instead, look at what you are not. Are you your body? The body changes, gets sick, dies. You observe the body. The observer cannot be the observed. Are you your name, your profession, your history? These are just memories, labels attached to you by thought. You are aware of them. Are you your thoughts? You can watch your thoughts come and go. You are the space in which they appear. Are you your feelings? They are fleeting, changing with the weather. As you negate everything that you can observe, you come to a point of profound emptiness. The mind, finding nothing to cling to, becomes still. This is not a blankness. It is a stillness that is intensely alive, aware. In this stillness, there is no center, no me. There is only perception. And in this state, it is possible to see what is true, what is new, what is sacred. A mind that is cluttered with the known can never discover the unknown. It can only project its own past onto the future. To discover, the mind must be empty of the known. This is the freedom Jiddu Krishnamurti spoke of. Not a freedom to do what you want. That is merely the freedom of a more comfortable prison. But the freedom from the self. Freedom from fear, from anxiety, from sorrow, from the endless burden of becoming something. In this freedom, there is an extraordinary sense of release, of lightness. The problems that seem so monumental are seen to be products of thought. The enemy you were fighting was your own shadow. To live in this way is to bring meditation into every aspect of life. There is no separation between the sacred and the profane, the spiritual and the mundane. Washing the dishes with this total attention is a sacred act. Listening to another person, without the screen of your own thoughts and judgments, is an act of love. This is the quality of a religious mind, not a mind that belongs to any organized religion, but a mind that is in communion with the whole of life. How does one begin? You have already begun by reading these words, by allowing this inquiry to touch you. The beginning is the seeing. The next step is to continue seeing, to watch without ceasing the movements of your own consciousness. Do not be discouraged by failure. The idea of failure is another thought, another judgment of the observer. There is only learning. You learn about the ways of the self, the cunning tricks it plays to maintain its own existence. You learn about the nature of thought and fear. This learning is not the accumulation of more knowledge. It is a continuous process of seeing, which is itself a continuous process of dissolution. The more you see the structure of the me, the less power it has. It is like seeing a shadow for what it is. As long as you believe it is a monster, you are afraid. The moment you see it is just a shadow, the fear is gone. You don't have to fight it. The perception itself is the liberation. So, the invitation is this: to turn inward with a passion for discovery, to put aside all that you have been told by every tradition, every teacher, including the words you are reading now, and to look for yourself. Krishnamurti's path to stillness is not a path at all, but the discovery that you are lost in paths created by thought. When you see the false as false, you are left with what is true. And in that truth, there is a silence that is not the opposite of noise, but a state of being in which noise has no place to arise. It is the silence of a mind that has come home to itself, a mind that is whole, undivided, and therefore free. This is the greatest blessing, the only true revolution. The quest to quiet your mind ends when the you that wants to be quiet is seen as the initial disturbance. In that seeing, in that silent, choiceless awareness, is a peace that the mind cannot manufacture, but can only stumble upon when it has exhausted itself in its search.